Will we have a TikTok president? The front porch campaigns of the late 1800s and early 1900s showed the average American that they could run for president and win. Mr. Anthony Hudson, your average blue-collar worker with 186.1 thousand followers on TikTok, is looking to do just that. With the Hudson campaign's heavy reliance on TikTok and other social media platforms, they have been able to kick off their Blue Collar to the White House tour on what they call a blue-collar budget. Will the Hudson 2024 campaign do what the front porch campaigns did? Or will it remain that only a career politician with large donors can win? Nowadays, how beneficial has being on TikTok been for you?
It's been a very good stepping stone for us because we took your advice and it's been working out pretty well for us since then. So thank you. But freedom isn't free. You know that. I know that.
Yep.
We all need to pitch in and contribute. So that we're going to kick off our Blue Collar to the White House national tour, and we're going to be hitting every state in the country. We're doing that on a blue collar budget.
We got Anthony Hudson here, fantastic presidential candidate. I'll give it to him.
Well, thank you for having me on, Sam. Right now, we've been extremely busy this year alone. We took your advice, and it's been working out pretty well for us since then. So, Thank you.
Hey, I think some of that cut out, but you said you were in Oklahoma with some of the state reps.
We're going to meet the governor. We're going to meet the other senators that are here in Oklahoma. They've got their big statewide convention this weekend, and they're going to be electing their new chairman and new co-chairman. And I appreciate that, Sam. It's been 8 months since I registered with the FEC, and a lot of remarkable things have happened. I've seen a lot of support from all over the country, supporting a new candidate, a new face, a new ideology, and wanting someone that will stand up and represent the American people and not just say that's what they're going to do like our politicians currently do in office. They always tell us what we want to hear. But then when they get elected, they disappear. And so what we bring to the table is a common sense philosophy of how the country should be ran. And we will never give up on the American people because we firmly believe that if it weren't for the people of this country, we wouldn't have a government and we wouldn't have it to begin with. So it's all about the people.
Sure. No, you're 100% right. It's good to hear someone actually be, quite legitimate on representing the people. You've been active, quite active on TikTok, which I respect. That's different than a lot of candidates nowadays. How beneficial has being on TikTok been for you?
Because I don't have Donald Trump's money or Joe Biden's money, just social media in general has been it's been a very good stepping stone for us because one, it doesn't cost anything to be on social media.
Yep.
Two, once you hit the algorithms, you can get out in front of the people. And right now we have over 260,000 followers on TikTok alone.
Yep.
We have followers. That's between my main account and my backup account. We have growing numbers on our Facebook page, our Instagram, our Twitter is now over 7,000 followers. And I've only been on Twitter for a couple months. So people are very interested in having one of their own step up to the plate, and they want to hear what we have to say. And, I will go ahead and announce that on June 26th, we're going to kick off our Blue Collar to the White House national tour, and we're going to be hitting every state in the country except for Alaska and Hawaii. So we're doing that on a blue collar budget. We'll be camping out on the side of the road sometimes if necessary. But the point is we need to get in front of the people since mainstream media won't cover us, and we don't have the big endorsements or the big super PACs or anything like that. So we are taking donations. We're asking people to help us out. And in return, we're going to give them the representation that they so desperately need and deserve in this country. But freedom isn't free. You know that. I know that.
Yep.
We all need to pitch in and contribute so that we can make this dream happen, because I think it's imperative to our future. If we don't stand up and make changes now, we may be so far gone, we'll never be able to come back from it.
That's fair. No, 100%. I mean, look at the decline of the U.S. dollar. Some of these simple things right here. we are on a rapid decline, and we need someone to step up to fix it. Let's see.
We absolutely do, you know. And I had a question the other night. What would I do about social issues in this country? And you know, it really caught me off guard, because as much as you want to acknowledge the social issues and the social discord that's going on in this country, we need to let those who govern the country govern the country. And we need to acknowledge these social issues, and we need to find a way to combat it, and figure out how we can come together and accept people's decisions on how they want to live their lives and what they're trying to do, but also still have the backbone that says we're not going to cancel out women by calling them birthing people. We're going to call them women, and we're going to stand up and protect women and their rights, their medical rights, their human rights. We are not going to cancel out the other sex in this country. I mean, women are so important and so vital to our country. We've got women that have they're now governors and mayors and sheriff deputies, all up and down in Congress. They have come so far in the history so that women feel that they are equal to men. I'm very passionate about this one. And I get a lot of hate from a lot of men because, you know, that's just the way the world turns. But in reality, women, you know, let's put it this way. Abraham Lincoln said first, he said, all men are created equal and should be treated equal in the United States. Why are we not living by that?
Exactly. No, I agree 100%. I mean, I think a lot of I want to hear your opinion on this, but a lot of the times when it comes to social issues, if I'm out knocking doors or discussing things with people, it really doesn't come down to necessarily a left or right issue. It's more how you present the issue. It's more how you discuss it rather than anything else. I think we've gotten caught up in what the left believes or the right believes, rather than trying to find middle ground. And I know that sounds very stereotypical for a politician to say, but there actually is a lot of middle ground that we all have, but we present it in the tone of an angry Facebook war rather than willing to hear the other side.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of pissing and moaning, and I'll call it for what it is, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tippy-toe or walk on eggshells, because that's not what this country needs. There is a lot of aggression when the big parties, the Republicans and Democrats, are not getting along or not agreeing on country. And I do think that there is a root of the problem, and we need to figure out what that is so that we can fix it. If you ask me personally today, I think mental health in this country is skyrocketed and has become so popular amongst people. And that's not something that you want to be a popular issue in the United States of America. But by giving and making healthcare, mental health care, free and accessible to all Americans for as long as they need it, not short-term mental health like the VA offers to veterans, but long-term care, I think we can get these folks to acknowledge, you know, their way of thinking is not necessarily, you know, what's traditional for us as human beings go through. Then I think we can really tackle a lot of these issues, especially a lot of the school shootings, a lot of this transgender movement. I think kids are getting confused. Maybe they're being bullied. Maybe their home life isn't as good as it should be. You know, this transgender movement is a popular fad. So they're like, I want to do this because it puts them in the limelight. It gives them that popularity. It makes them seem relevant. But in the long term, they're hurting themselves.
Yeah.
You know, these young kids that are taking hormone blockers, that, you know, as they're getting older, doctors have shown that they can lead to an irregular heartbeat, a heart attack, even death at an early age. We really, really need people to start understanding what they are trying to do, and we should protect our children at all costs. And I'm fine with people wanting to do medical procedures, you know, and do whatever it is they need for their life to make them feel relevant after the age of 18. If you're 13 years old, you should not be taking blockers. You should not be considering any of this right now. You should take the next few years, talk to your parents, talk to your therapist, talk to your friends if that's your outlet, but children are so prone to change their mind from day to day or month to month or year to year that it takes most of them through their sophomore year of college to figure out what they want to be when they grow up.
Yeah.
And we're going to allow them to make life-changing decisions at the age of 13? I don't think so. They're only children for 18 years. Then they can tackle the world after that the rest of their life. Let's protect their ability to be children and be innocent and have fun and enjoy childhood as long as we can. And when they're 18, they can start making some of these more adult decisions. That's how I feel on that one.
It's a very interesting take. I mean, well, you've got some of these doctors in the name of medical freedom are prescribing Lupron to kids in the name of inclusivity and acceptance and affirmation. And interestingly enough, that's the exact same drug that they give to sex offenders.
Right.
And, you know, as soon as those doctors are asked about that, they end the interview. You know, I think it was one of the specific interviews was Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman? And the doctor right there, she couldn't handle the interview after that.
Right.
That's a very interesting take. Now, how has your reception been from younger people? I know you're on TikTok, which is a platform that usually caters towards people my age and middle-aged individuals. How well has your reception been from the younger side of things?
You know, my analytics from 18 to 24 is my second largest audience.
Oh, really?
My largest audience is the 35 to 40, 42-year-old. Yep. And then it is 18 to 24 because, you know, our slogan is truly people before politics. And I know you've heard this term recently in the political world, and I've never heard this term before I announced my campaign and used it as my slogan. And now I hear it all the time. So I don't know if it's just getting out to politicians or recognizing my videos or my platform, and they like the way it sounds. But we've gone a step further, and we want to make it a lifestyle, not a slogan. And the young kids, when you give them the attention that they're looking for, when you show them that you're concerned about their future and their ability to work, make a living, and have a better quality of life in this country, they will congregate to you quickly because you are truly standing up, presenting facts, and proving to them that I'm here to fix this country so that you can live better when you get to that 30-year-old range, 35-year-old range, what have you. These kids they're not stupid. Kamala Harris went on public TV during an interview and said 18 to 24-year-olds are stupid. Ms. Harris, I with respect, disagree with you. I think these 18 to 24-year-olds, the majority of them are very smart. They have a good idea of what's going on. But I also think there's a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds that are caught up in the new way that we speak, the tenderness side of everything. It's all wrapped up in feelings and emotion, and that's okay. It's okay to be in touch with your emotions, but we still need to have a backbone in this country. We still need to be able to stand up for ourselves and demand the respect that we deserve being the United States of America. And the way a lot of these young kids are acting nowadays are causing us to be laughable at best on a world platform. But I haven't lost hope in them. And I convey this to them all the time. I was sitting here at the airport in Oklahoma about an hour ago, and I handed out about 40, 50 cards and talked to, I would say of those 50 cards I handed out, 90% of them would have been under the age of 25.
Really?
Just walked right up to them, introduced who I was. They shook my hand, big smiles on their faces. One young lady said that she goes to Oklahoma State University. She was just coming back from a trip to Chicago. And she said, I have never stood in front of a presidential candidate, and I really don't know what to say. And I'm like, I live the same life you and your parents do. I'm not some big shot, big wig. I'm here to help, and running for president is my way of doing that for you. And she just lit up and gave me a big hug and said, thank you. And she was 23 years old. A big thank you. So that's encouraging to me. And we're going to keep pushing the young people because we need to restore the faith in them that our system, although most of us think it's broken, it's fixable and that their vote does count.
Yeah.
We need people to register to vote and actually go out and vote because that is the most powerful voice that you can have. And we need to keep educating young people on the importance of voting in mass numbers so that we can change the way government's being done right now.
No, you're 100% right. You know, I find that interesting. The way you've gone about it is you're willing to admit that my generation, especially, the way you put it is you highlighted that we've let our emotions control us in a way. We've become so emotionally based rather than factually based, and we need to work to have a median there. You know, there's a clip of a TikToker who's probably a year or two older than me, and his response was, Republicans, we don't like you. And that's how he goes about it. He hits his hands like that and starts yelling and screaming. And my reaction was, well, that's why right there. So I like that take you had where you were willing to admit that, yes, there's an emotional side of things, but we need to find that happy median of, yes, being in touch with the emotions. You've hit on mental health, making sure we have a recognition for that, but also maintaining a backbone. Now, I like that quite a bit.
Well, there's a formula to my method on rebirthing the backbone of the United States of America. And I've talked this over with my campaign staff. I've talked this over with the older generation, my generation, and the one ahead of us. And they all think it's a great idea in theory. And before I make it a solution, or a policy, I want to continue to talk to the American people about it to get their viewpoints on it. And I think when we talk about education in this country, we need to get back to our basic core values of education, back to where we could write our names in cursive.
Yeah.
Get some literary classes where we can teach kids how to manage a checkbook, how their credit works, throw in some trade school classes like welding and automotive shop and wood shop, because not everybody's going to go to college. And with the kids that take some of these trade classes, we can get them set up for some government grants to get them into trade school if that's where they want to go. But I would like to institute a 2-year mandatory junior ROTC program in our high schools. And it doesn't mean you have to take it your freshman, sophomore year or your junior, senior year, just 2 years. You're already required to take English for 4 years, math for 4 years, science and social studies for 4 years. An ROTC program with no guarantee or obligation to join the military will teach young kids about integrity, honor, truth, being truthful. It'll give them structure and discipline and get them really ready for the next phase of their life when they move out of their parents' home. They won't be so scared of what the real world looks like to them. I don't believe there should be any weapons involved in this junior ROTC program. It's classwork. It's physical agility work. It's kind of like PE on drugs, if you want to put it that way. But I think it's worth looking into to see if it plays out in physical life as it does in my head. Yeah. I've been through basic training in the military, and I know that those 8 weeks that I was gone transformed me to become the man I am today as far as how I live my life. And not everybody has that opportunity because they don't go to the military. So I also think that going through a junior ROTC program, it'll help our recruiting with our military because our numbers are down. A lot of people say, I'm not going to die for this country. This country won't stand up for me and represent me. Why would I put my life on the line for this country?
Yeah.
Well, if we start building this country back to where it should be, then I think people will be more prone to want to serve in our military, and having to go through a junior ROTC program might enlighten enough people to say, you know what, maybe the military life is for me. And I've already got to jump on the process because I did this class for 2 years. I can go to basic training as an E2 or a specialist instead of a private. You give them some encouragement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Navy is currently having drag queens put on shows for recruitment, and well, we see how well that's going to work. So it sounds like you've got some sort of plan to hopefully, I don't know if this is the right term, but revitalize the military. Um, Speaking of the military, what would be some of your foreign policy ideas?
You know, we've just started working on foreign policy reform and what we would like to do, because when I first announced this, our border was a very popular issue. Um, our homeless, our veterans, our VA, the education system,
Yep.
the war in Ukraine, all these other tough topics we felt we had to tackle first. Right now, as far as foreign relations is concerned, we do need to fund our military so that we do maintain a world power as a military country. We have to have that. Um, but on the other side of things is I am open to sitting down and starting the conversation with our enemies and our allies, because we're all, you know, all these other world leaders, we're all gentlemen, and we all understand that we want to protect humanity and our nations and our people, and we want what's best for everyone. I even believe to some degree that even Russia wants what's best for their people. And I've read some articles about this Ukraine war that have really opened my eyes. But I want to initiate the conversations. I want to start putting compromise back on the table so that we can get less hate out of the world and start getting these world leaders to understand the business and the economics of getting along and working together, one nation to another. How we get there from here, I don't know. A lot of people are going to jump at you and say, "Oh, we got to have another world war to gain our dominance, or we got to have a civil war to get our country back to where it needs to be." War should always be the last option, but we need a leader that's not afraid to take us there if that's where we need to be.
Sure.
Um, it's a tough question to ask to answer, Sam, especially since we've only been diving into it for about the last 2 weeks or so. But this is where I'm at, is willing to put myself out there in North Korea or in China or in Russia or in Iraq or Saudi Arabia, and start having respectful conversations that start with compromise. What do you want? What can we give you in return? What do we get in return? Let's start with that, and let's build relationship instead of start pointing the finger and trying to, you know, piss everybody off, because we can't take on the entire world. I don't care how powerful we are. We need our allies, and we need common ground and respect with our enemies.
Now, do you want respect, or do you want to be feared, or do you want both? I think in our foreign policy now,
I think
good.
I think with the proper amount of respect comes fear.
Now,
so if we go out there and we put our foot down where we need to, and we hold our ground, because our administration right now doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
They avoid phone calls, they avoid travel, they avoid conversations, they just don't care. And it's obvious that they don't care. If we put ourselves on a world stage and we hold our ground and we lead by example, not by luxury, we will gain the respect from other nations, because they will fear what happens if they don't. I think the two go hand in hand.
I can say they kind of have to go hand in hand, whether you're respected by the allies or you're feared by the enemies. If you have a proper balance of enough, it's kind of, well, I mean, it's how Donald Trump went about foreign policy. Everyone said he was.
Well, it is. And a lot of people say, "Oh, well, you're just Trump 2.0. No, I'm not. I'm Hudson 1.0. Huh.
Yeah.
You know, I have my own ideas, and I have a different character about myself. I carry myself a different way than Donald Trump does, where I don't have to get up in your face all the time, talk down to people, and tell them they have to fear me. I want people to respect me for the job that I'm doing, but fear the consequences if they can't get on board.
Sure.
And that fear comes from them, not me imposing it.
Yeah.
They need to understand what the United States is capable of, and that we will follow through until we get what we deserve, what we demand. And
Yeah.
right now, I think the United States should focus on being America first. The resources that we have in this country are sitting here waiting for us to use them, and we neglect to do so. We are the world's number one producer of crude oil.
Yeah.
We live on top of liquid gold, and we're not touching it. And what we are touching, we're selling to other nations and then trying to work out contracts or backdoor shady deals with our enemies to purchase their oil. No, I don't need to buy oil from a third world country or an enemy when I have the largest amount of crude oil in the world right underneath my feet.
And now, what about getting into energy forms like nuclear? I mean, that would be a pretty wise investment as far as I'm concerned. And I've got some fellow members on the right side of the aisle that have become more interested in that in the past couple of years of the Biden administration. What do you think on that?
Very short and quick. I haven't thought much about it at all, but I am wanting to get more educated on it so I can make a better decision without being biased and throwing some uneducated answer out there. That's one thing that the American people will get from me is transparency. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know, but we'll find out. So I'd love to be able to sit down and talk to you outside of this conversation and hear what you have to say about it, because that's how my campaign works. We ask the right questions and we listen to the people and we take what they tell us and put it into solutions that'll make things right for them, that will give them a little less stress and anxiety. And stress and anxiety are two of the leading causes of mental health. So if we can take some of that away, maybe we will naturally start healing ourselves.
No, 100%. I respect that. Now, I remember quite earlier, totally separate topic. Earlier on in your campaign, you were running as an unregistered candidate, as an independent. Now you're running on the GOP side of things. I know you and I had some discussions, but what was the final thing that made you decide to run as a Republican?
Well, I've always been a Republican.
Yep.
I've always been a registered Republican, but I've been more moderate. I'm not far right, believe hardcore everything that the Republican says. Oh, that I've got to worship that. No, I am a moderate who understands the value in both sides. That doesn't mean that I agree with the far left either, but there are moderate Democrats that can understand, appreciate, and get along with moderate Republicans like myself. And there's a huge volume of constituents that fall into that realm. And you and I talked, and I'm okay telling the people that a younger generation man, you educated me and brought some things to my attention that made me think about my decision of what to do. And you made me realize that running on the GOP, opens up more doors for me in a win-win-win situation, no matter what happens in this campaign. Since we've made that decision, in the beginning, when I was nonpartisan, we were making hundreds of calls a day and getting nowhere. Just doors slammed in our face, people hanging up on us, people giving us all this. You're running as an independent, you'll never make it, even though there are more independent voters than there are any other kind in this country. But you made me understand that running on the GOP opens doors, and Sam, they have. I have a meeting on the 9th with the GOP chairman of Tennessee, which they didn't want to talk to us before. My office has spoken to the GOP in Pennsylvania. I went to the GOP convention in Michigan. I was invited to the GOP convention in Oklahoma. So people are now wanting to listen, and it baffles me. It to the point of maybe I ought to slam my fist down onto a table that I'm giving you the exact same message as a Republican candidate as I was giving you as a nonpartisan candidate. But because I'm on the GOP, now you want to listen to what I have to say. That's frustrating to me. And that's why I believe we should get rid of the party lines and have everybody do their research and get to know the man or woman that's running and decide for yourself who is best to lead this country for the people of the country. We cannot negate or fail to recognize that the Constitution starts with we the people. Has nothing to do with the government. It starts with we the people. So everything should be focused and tailored around the American people, and the American people should be the number one priority in this country. We should never have an American citizen with health care go into a hospital and be asked to sit in the waiting room while an illegal immigrant is getting medical treatment in front of them. That should never happen in this country. And it's happening every day in Yuma, Arizona, and I'm sure other border towns that have hospitals. It should not be the case. The American citizens who work, abide by the law, who raise their families, they pay into society, they can afford or they struggle just to have health insurance, should be top of the line, first and foremost. Our veterans should have the respect that they've earned. I used to say deserve, but they've earned the respect of every living and breathing American citizen in this country by putting their name on that dotted line and putting their life on the line for our country, whether they were combat deployed or not. They have earned the respect and the benefits that come from being a veteran of the United States, and we need to honor that.
Sure. Well, I in many ways, I agree with most of what you said, where you got to have a people first oriented movement and an America first oriented movement. I think sometimes if you get away from certain GOP leaders, you'll see some of them are worried that the party is going to be splintered. And I think some of the reasons, at least from certain, I think you'll see in certain committee members, they're excited to see someone new. We've got a lot of the same old type people. And I think they're excited to see someone new with a little bit more of a blue collar focus. We've got some people that try to appeal to those audiences and they can't do it. There are some candidates running for president right now that I think they have an okay chance, but they come across as rhinos, and you don't. I find that very interesting. You might be more moderate, but at least you're open on your positions. We've had a lot of candidates in the past that claim to be moderate, but they sacrifice their values. And I don't necessarily see that so far. So this is very interesting. I'd love to do this again sometime soon. And I hope the campaign goes well. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it a lot, Sam. And as we text yesterday, just keep reminding people up there in your neck of the woods there in Maine that we're headed to Maine, and it'll be towards the middle of July when we get there. It's towards the end of our trip. We're cutting this trip into two halves. We're going to do half the country, take a break, and then do the other half. So, because I got kids that I gotta be involved with. And I'm not complaining about that at all, but I got to make time for my family as well. Sure. But there are a lot of people in Maine that have reached out and shown support for what we do. So if you guys can keep, talking about us there in Maine, when we come through, maybe we can have a small rally, get some people together, have a good time, and we can talk shop, and they can see in person that I am the kind of guy that you would have at your dining room table for dinner, or drinking a beer on your back porch. We could go fishing, and that's the kind of guy I am. I'm not a politician that is afraid to get my hands dirty or afraid to take off my shirt and actually do some work. If you know me, if you've followed my campaign at all, you've seen that I've been in Kentucky during the floods. You've seen that I met Jill Biden and our press secretary in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, right after the tornado. I was in Rolling Stones. Yeah. I made a funny about that. I told people while Joe was in Rolling Stones, Mississippi, I was in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, telling his wife I'm coming for his job. And she told me, I'm aware. They know who I am.
That's awesome.
They know who I am. And then, unfortunately, that night, Little Rock, Arkansas got hit by a tornado. So we were off and running to Little Rock the next morning. It was about, a 4-hour drive. And Saturday and Sunday, we were helping cut down trees off of people's homes. You'll never see Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Asa Hutchinson. You'll never see any of these politicians roll up their sleeves and get out there. We took a break to help a guy straighten his garage door that had been pulled off the hinges. And at one point, I was holding up one end of the garage door, and it came out of the tracks. It fell, hit me in the head. The glass broke, cut my arm up in a couple places. And we went in, got a Band-Aid, and came back out and went right back to work. You will never see these other candidates that are wealthy or career politicians out there working with the American people when they're struggling. I have made it my forte to go out there and be a part of these disaster areas and physically do the work to show them that, hey, we care about you. We want to help you. We're not watching from 1,000 miles away. We're here with you, however long it takes. And I think that people can really relate with that, because down home, that's what, deep down in your heart, down home people act like that.
Yeah.
They'll pull over and give the shirt off their back, or they'll fix a tire on the side of the road if you got a flat. They'll come get you at 3:00 in the morning if you have car trouble. I'm no different. I grew politicians because I do what I say and I mean what I say, and I think people are starting to catch on to that.
Sure. No, I can see that. So, well, thank you so much, Mr. Hudson. We'd love to have you back on the show sometime, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. It was a true pleasure being here. I get to speak with you. Anytime you want to have us back, just let us know.
You got it. Well, I think Mainers will be interested in hearing your positions on different issues, and we'll make sure they get to hear it. So thank you so much.